and welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Lauren Blinn, will invite a bookish guest to share their favorite book recommendation. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. Today we have our bookish guest, Lauren Blinn, and Lauren's welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again.
So happy to have you here. So today we're going to talk all things audiobooks. So first things first, you listen to a lot of audiobooks. Where do you listen to them?
I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. Lately, I've been listening. I use Overdrive to listen to library audiobooks, but I also use Scribd and Audible to supplement it, because sometimes the library, you'll have holds for like ungodly amount of time, like 12 weeks, 16 weeks, and I get bored. So I definitely have Scribd and Audible to help me with that. And I recently did a trial for Audible Escape, which is just romance. All you can read romance, and that one was really good too.
That's awesome. So Audible Escape, you can actually do multiple romance at once. Correct? Like it's not just one credit per month?
Yeah, Scribd. So Audible is, you'll have credits. You'll get 12 credits. You do like a yearly package. It's usually about $150, but if you get it on sale, hint, like Black Friday or any of those holidays, they sometimes go for like $99. So $99 for 12 credits, which is like a credit per month. You can kind of figure it out. Those you do get to keep though. And then they have, if you do have a yearly package, you get 2 free audiobooks a month, but it's from 5 of their picks. They're like Audible made picks. So they're not usually books you would know about. So that's kind of neat. Sometimes they're classics or they're really crazy sci-fi fantasy stuff. But Audible is the one that it's not like the library. You can listen to as much as you want. Scribd and Audible Escape are the ones that you can listen to as much as you want. You don't own them, but you listen to as much as you want, kind of like Netflix, you know? But Audible Escape is just romance, like YA romance, contemporary, historical fiction, all kinds of romance.
Yeah.
And Scribd is everything.
Yeah. I tried Audible Escape, and for me, it's great for romance because there's a lot of selection, but for me, I think audiobooks is kind of like difficult to listen to books like fiction. Like it doesn't grab my attention. So I'm curious to hear from you.
Yeah, you definitely, with audiobooks, you definitely have to find your genre. It's kind of like reading. Like I love to read romance, but there's there's types of romance I like to read and some I like to listen to. For audiobooks, I have to have stuff that engages me. I can't listen to long-winded fantasies or, like just anything that will put me to sleep, like general fiction. I have to listen to either kind of like a suspense thriller romance, or thrillers in general are really good. Stephen King's might put you to sleep. There are some really good narrated ones out there, but like the very end of The Shining was amazing, but it's just getting to that point. It's 40 hours long. So, but I like YA fantasy, sci-fi, and romance and thrillers. Those are my favorite audiobooks, definitely.
I love it. Yeah, I've listened to The Kiss Portion at the moment.
How's that?
It was really good, actually. And I listened at work, which was not safe for work. So I enjoyed it. And I listened to The Woman in Cabin 10. And that was actually a really good experience for me to read a thriller, to listen to a thriller. I think that was like a really good experience because I just waited for the twist and turn. Like I was engaged with that book. So.
Woman in Cabin 10 was one of my first thrillers I listened to. And I was like, oh, I guess I like thrillers because I listened to that one. It was really good. I never could tell what was going on. And I did it while I was working. So it kept me entertained. Definitely.
Yeah, me too. I try to listen to Duke and I because I'm right now binging on the Bridgertons, and I missed like 3 major scenes. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna read it. So it was a hit or miss. Like it depends on the narrator. It depends on like the depends on my engagement of if I have to do menial tasks at work, then maybe that would be a good place to listen to it. But other than that, it's somewhat difficult to listen.
Yeah, I have to be in the right headspace sometimes too. Sometimes if you're thinking of 50 different things like we often are, you're not going to focus on the audiobook no matter how hard you try. You're just not. So yeah, you definitely have to like pick and choose when you want to listen. Like sometimes driving is the best place. I know time to listen. I know some people do audiobooks while they do house chores, things like that, washing dishes or clothes or whatever.
That may be a good place.
I haven't tried that yet.
I should try that. That would be a good place to do. One cool thing about Audible is, and I hate to be pushing Audible as like there's Libro FM for independent bookstores support. But Audible, if you don't like the book, you can return it and you can get the credit back.
Yes.
That's actually
yes, you can.
Which is a really cool thing.
I'm such a cheapskate too. So I'll listen to Audible. Like I have my 12 credits for the year, right? But you've already calculated how much you paid for those 12 credits. So if they have sales on audiobooks, which they do, they had one where buy 2 for 1 credit, or they'll have them for sale for like $5. Like they usually have a daily deal. I'll spend my actual money instead of using my credit, which is worth like $12 or something. So I watch that too. So don't just let go of your credits. Watch how much the audiobook really is costing you is the only thing I would say for Audible.
Yeah, so there's some good things about Audible. Talk to us about Scribd. So you can listen to as many books as possible over there, or within limit. So what kind of books do you find in Scribd that you may not see in Audible, or you may just not use your credits in Audible?
Scribd is good for books that I haven't listened to before. See, I like to buy audiobooks that I have listened to before that I loved. So Scribd is good for trying stuff out. They also have ebooks, audiobooks, newspapers, and I think they have sheet music. Scribd is not just audiobooks. They have a lot of stuff. But I like to flip back and forth between Overdrive, like the library, and see, okay, how long is the wait for Wallflower Wager? Okay, it's 16 weeks. Oh, look at that. It's on Scribd. So I'm going to go listen to it on Scribd instead of wasting one of my holds on the library. But no, they have all sorts of stuff. They have YA fiction, a really good selection of YA fantasy and sci-fi, which I like to listen to. They also have like contemporaries, like When Dimple Met Rishi, all the cutesy stuff. And they have a pretty good romance section. It's not as good as, I don't think, Audible Escape, but they're getting better. And the thing about Scribd is I've noticed they always switch. They seem to, every 30 days or 60 days, they must renew some of their leasing or something, or contracts, because it's kind of like Netflix. Netflix is like, oh, new movies this month. I think they do stuff like that. So you're constantly having new things and new books to listen to.
Oh, that's exciting. So let's get to a round of audiobook recommendations. So who are your favorite narrators?
Okay. Favorite narrators recently would be Mary Jane Wells, and she actually narrates the Girl Meets Duke series by Tessa Dare. She helped me fall back in love with historical fiction. Like, I love historical fiction. But when I started listening and reading Tessa Dare and listening to Mary Jane Wells, I was laughing. I had to pause it at one point because I was trying to work, and it was so good I couldn't focus.
Oh my gosh!
But she does. I love it, and that's the that's the Girl Meets Duke series, and then her other one, she did the Ravenel by Lisa Kleypas. I think is how you say her name.
Yep.
And that one was really good as well. I started listening to the first 3, and then I think I'm on number 4. But there's at least 6 books in that series, so I'm excited about that one. The male narrator I would probably mention would be Jacob Morgan, and shout out to Freaks Between the Sheets on Instagram. because they were talking about him, and that led me to Helena Hunting, because he narrates that series, the Shacking Up series. It is amazing. I love those audiobooks. Like, even some of the books that you don't like as much as like the first or second one, they're still good, because the narration, like where it might be like a 3.5, sometimes the narration is so good, you bump the book up because it was done so well. You just have to give it credit.
Yeah, I think I've listened. I think he did some of the talk for Helena Hunting. So, and then listened to the last book. I think he was the narrator, and he's so good.
I think he must be Helena Hunting's like favorite narrator, because I think he did do some of the Puck series as well, and maybe Meet Cute. I'm not completely sure on that, but yes, I just love the way he narrates. It's hilarious.
Got a random question. What speed do you listen to audiobooks?
Speed I listen to. It's generally, I don't listen at one. It varies from narrator to narrator, I notice on books, but usually about 1.2 to 1.5. I don't go over 1.5 because it's just I can't focus. I know some people try to listen to it at like 2 or 3 just to get through the book, but my mind just can't process all that. I just don't want it to be talking this slow. Just enough to keep you going and entertained.
Yeah.
So yeah, 1.2 to 1.5 is perfect.
Perfect. What has been your favorite audiobook that you listened so far?
My favorite, I have a couple of favorite audiobooks. Hands down, one of the first ones I loved was a YA sci-fi series, The Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and it was so good. If you've never listened to an audiobook before, it will spoil you. You will hate everything else. Like, you will constantly be looking for a full cast audiobook with sound effects. It's like an old, I don't want to say old radio show because that sounds cheesy, but it just has that feeling of where you can just easily visualize, and it has the girl reading the girl parts and the guy reading the guy parts. It doesn't have the girl reading a whole chapter of what the guy thinks while she's thinking. No, it goes back and forth from girl to guy. Yes, and I loved it. And my favorite one was Gemina. The second book is hands down my favorite, even in the audiobook. Love it, love it, love it, because they even have a song in that one. The running joke is this stupid lollipop song that keeps popping up. It's like, ooh, ah, ooh. It is the most annoying pop song ever, but I laughed every time it popped up with the characters, because they would be like running from evil villains and that song pops up, and I just died laughing. I love that series so much. I listened to it at least 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, so I listened to the third book. That was my first audiobook. So you just told me why I've been spoiled from audiobooks, because that was the first audiobook I ever listened to, was the third book. And it was just an amazing experience. It was like the full cost audio, like, and I love that book. The book itself is like a great experience to read, because even though it's like 600 pages, you can fly through in an afternoon or a couple afternoons, because it's mixed media files. But for some reason I just listened to it and it was so good.
Yes, it was just so good. Another one that's pretty close to that is, I would say, Scorpio Races by Maggie Stepwater. It's all about like a horse race, but on an island that reminded me of Australia. But the horses are creepy. And they're like water horses, and they kill people. And so it's kind of like a really dangerous horse race. And the narrators, what was cool about it is you had the female narrator and you had the male narrator, but you also had a little bit of sound effects here and there. But that one I really loved as well. And let's see some other ones. Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. That one was hilarious. If you want to listen to some YA pirates, both of those audiobooks are hilarious. The sass came across completely in those. Like, I was laughing, once again, working and laughing. People probably think I'm crazy. sitting at my desk laughing at these audiobooks. And let's see, what else? 2 other series. I'll say Tessa Dare's series, Girl Meets Duke series again, and then her older series, Castles Ever After.
Mm-hmm.
That one was really cute. Had her signature historical fiction, really good romance, but a lot of humor.
So share with us a few authors that you discovered thanks to audiobooks.
I would say Lisa Kleypas was one of them because I found Mary Jan Wells was narrating Girl Meets Duke, and so I started looking up, well, who's talking? Who's doing the narrating? So I looked her up, and she had the Ravenel series by Lisa Kleypas. So I just started recently listening to those. So she's one. And then someone had recommended Scorpio Races, and I just never had a chance to read it. And I saw the audiobook one day, and I was like, let's try that. And it was so good. I just immediately added all of Maggie's books onto my TBR. Just piled them all on.
She has a new book coming up, right?
She does. It's what is it? The Call Down the Hawk. That's what it is. Okay. I think it's another YA fantasy. It might have like some magical realism in it. A lot of her books do.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, that one's coming out November 5th.
Oh, cool. Add it to the TBR.
Exactly.
So now let's get to a round of book recommendations, or regular book recommendations.
Okay, sure.
So what 3 books did you read this past month that you enjoy?
The past month, I finished the second book of the Girl Meets Duke series, which I've already talked about that a million times, but I finished The Governess Game. I really like that one. I still like the first one the best, but the second one was really good as well. Mm-hmm. And a more kind of serious, well, it wasn't really serious. It was The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it, but it's one of those ones that looks like it's going to be completely light and fluffy. But it wasn't. It did have some serious content in it, with her coming into contact with her family she didn't know existed. Her real father passes away, and come to find out she's got extended family that she never knew existed. So it was really good in that aspect. Plus, she works in a bookstore, and she had so many quips and just little tidbits in that book that were like references to like Star Wars and Marvel and just all sorts of nerdy isms that I just loved about that book. Let's see, my third one would probably be one I finished just today. It was Dangerous Desires. It's by J.T. Geisinger, and she does write, I don't want to say more serious. She definitely writes a little more heavy on the romance. But the characters' backgrounds usually have serious backgrounds. Like, they would be trigger warnings if they were actually in the book. Like, but they're usually just kind of mentioned, and the characters are kind of dealing with the after effects. But that one was really good. It was the second one in the series.
Okay. And we're starting the book slump right now? Or you're hopefully getting out of it?
I just finished it. Just finished it today, and it was really good, and it was really steamy, and it had me thinking it was going to be a triangle. So I was like, oh my God, it's going to be a love triangle. Sometimes I like them, and sometimes I don't. So I was kind of worried about it. But no, it ended up really well, and I can't wait to read the third book. So
I love it.
That one comes out. That one actually came out. It comes out August 20th.
Oh, awesome.
So that one was really good. Definitely recommend her. A lot of her books are on Kindle Unlimited.
That's always a plus. So, if you're Kindle Unlimited like myself, I'm like, if you're on Kindle Unlimited, then I'm going to take it. So
yes, it's like, oh, it's free, it's included. Let me just grab it.
Yeah.
Which books did you read this month that you would recommend?
So I've been on a Bridgerton branch right now. So I've read 6 books out of the series. There's 8 books in the series. So I would rank them based on what I like. So I really like the first 5 books. The 6th book, which is what I'm currently reading, it's the sister who's not part of the family. Like, she's part of the family, but she kind of like got married early, and she's been in Scotland for most of the books. So she's not part of the nuclear family. And I really don't like her book. That's the one book that I'm struggling to finish. It's like,
don't you hate that?
Yeah, I'm like,
it's like a middle book in a full series, and you're like, I don't like this person, but I want to continue the series.
I know, that's how I felt. And like, I knew from the beginning, like I finished the book before that, and I was like, I knew this book was coming, and I was like, I'm not feeling like I want to read this book. And it's taken me 3 days to finish. And these books take me about a day and a half to finish. So I'm like, what is going on? And it just happens to be the sister who's just not connected. So I'm looking forward to book 7. Book 8 is the same thing. He's the younger brother who's been eaten in college. So he hasn't been around for most of the books. And I don't know the characters, so we'll see how he comes about. But yeah, for this book, I was like, it just like doesn't resonate. But I really love the Duke and I is good. It has some problematic scenes. So I would say like just read it, just get it through. The first book, just get through it. The second book is a hate to lovers romance. The third book is Cinderella retelling. The fourth book is really good because we figure out who Lady Whistledown is. Throughout the books, there's a gossip columnist who name names and talks about the town, talks about all the society people, and so we don't know who Lady Whistledown is. And then on the fourth book, that gets revealed. So it's actually really good. So I really like that one. That's a friends to lovers romance. The fifth book, they don't know each other. They meet over letters, and so the main character decides he offers her marriage over the letter, so she decides to go and see if they can be a good fit. And like society, that's not okay. Like scandal. Like you should not be going unchaperoned to someone's house. So they are forced to get married. Like surprise. But it was really good. So I really like the children in that book. There's children. The sixth book, which is the one that I'm reading now, it's actually she got married when she was 20. 2 years later, her husband died. And then she's best friends with the husband's cousin, who ended up his husband was an earl, I think. And so he ended up taking the earl thing. So, and he has been in love with her ever since. So now they're like, they're sort of getting together. It's okay. It's steamy. It's the most steamy book out of the series. But for some reason, I just cannot connect with her. Like, I haven't connected with her 5 books earlier. Like, this is kind of like a brand new character in that sense. And I'm like, I don't know what to expect. So I just have to power through. I got like 100 pages left. And once I power through, then I get to read the 7th book, which is The Last Child, the youngest one. And she's been in the books for most of the books, so she's actually an interesting character that I'm looking forward to reading.
Well, good. Hopefully that series picks up a little because I want to read it too.
Yeah.
It's on my list too.
Yeah, it's actually really good. I treated myself, like I got an Amazon gift card for my birthday, and I ended up just treating myself and just buying the ebooks. I was like, I'm just not even going to wait for the library. I'm just going to just try to just go through it. And so it's been a really good series to just dive into it. But I'm looking forward to be done so that I can actually listen or read, other books in the historical romance genre. Since I actually discovered that I like it and then want to go all those backlist titles.
And then you added like 100, 500 books on your list as soon as you found out you like historical fiction romance. That's it works.
Pretty much. I got Lisa Clavis, I got the Ravenel series, I got The Girl Named Duke, I got to finish The Wallflower Wager. I have The Castle Ever After for Tessa Dare. I got that because you sent me Romancing the Duke, so I have that book.
I love that one.
And I ended up buying the other 2 books, actually, because I still had some money in my gift card. So I was like, well, I'm just going to buy some more books. So I bought that series. And then I have Sabrina Jeffries and then Maya Rodale. So there's like all these authors that I'm like discovering. That I'm like, I'm just gonna. Oh, Sarah MacLean, The Wicked Wallflower, and The Raising the Beast. So I had those books. So I'm just like, I have a lot to read within the historical fiction.
Tessa Bailey's another one. Oh wait, does she do historical fiction?
No, Tessa Bailey does contemporary. But for me, Tessa Bailey is a hit or miss. So Tessa Bailey has led me to a few book slums. Fix Her Up is one of them. So I had to tread lightly with Tessa Bailey. I think I'm going to try her Kindle Unlimited series that she has. She just got a new book out. That series looks good, so I may try that and see if she's actually she's one of those books that I actually like, or it's just a hit or miss.
I just thought of another historical fiction. Okay, it's not an adult YA. I mean, it's not an adult romance. That's the wrong word. It's a YA romance, historical fiction, but Stalking Jack the Ripper.
Oh yes, I read that.
Scalco.
Yep.
I love that series. I think it's the fact that because I like watch stuff like that. I like the crime scene and like The Alienist and just all that historical fiction dealing with morgues and autopsies. And she just kind of combined that, but had a really good kind of mystery in it. But also there's definitely romance throughout the series. So I like that one.
Yeah, I read the first book in the series and I didn't continue for some reason. I think I may try to pick them up. I think for me, sometimes I get worried about series that release one book a year because I have to find, I'm one of those people who likes to binge them all and then just so I can remember what happens and get to know the Easter eggs. If I read them in a year apart, then I forget things. Like that's what happens.
I do audiobooks for that. If I can find an audiobook and like I read a book like last year and I'm trying to catch up, that's another reason I like audiobooks. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what happened in that first book and second book, but I need to read the third book. So let's see if I can find the audiobooks real quick and listen to them in 2 days.
That's a really good smart idea. Yeah. Because that was my issue with Three Dark Crowns. Like, I really loved that series. I read the first 2 or 3 books of the series. And some reason, I read the first 2 books in the series. And then the third book came out, and I totally forgot what happened. So I was completely lost. And I was like, I DNF it. Because I was like, I need to read the other books again. So I'm waiting for the fourth book and just read them.
I read the first one, and it was okay. I just couldn't connect to the characters. And it was at the point where I'm like, okay, half of y'all are going to die. This is going to be like Game of Thrones, YA Game of Thrones. I just know it. So I'm like, I'm not completely connected to any of you. Let's put the series down for me.
Yeah. For some reason I enjoy it. Like I remember liking it. But I was like, I don't remember half of the books now.
You were like, yes, who's going to win?
But yeah, it was one of those series where I was like, I like it, but I don't remember half of the books. Same happened with The Red Queen. That book I didn't finish the series because I haven't finished one of the class series too. Like I haven't finished a lot of those series. Like I'll binge on whatever books in the polish and then wait till the year comes out for the next book. And then I was like, I totally forgot what happened.
Well, I think that's YA fantasy in general. It's just you're always waiting for the next book in another series. It's no matter what's going on, you're usually reading about 10 series at a time.
Yeah. Fun times. So what books are your TBR this month?
This month, I have 2 books that you sent me. I've got Serpent and Dove, and I've got The Girl the Sea Gave Back. I'm really excited. I'm trying to fly through those before they release in, I think, September, mid-September-ish. And then I have one I'm really excited about. I got the ARC for. It's the second book in a series, and it's a thriller romance. So I like to describe this one as Mission Impossible with romance. Like it's half kind of save the world action and danger, and half of it is romance. And it was the Final Hour series by Gino Rushdan. The second book is called Nothing to Fear, but the first book, which I have read, was called Every Last Breath. And I really liked that one. And it's only a duology, I believe, but the first one had 2 characters and 2 points of view, like male, female. And then the second one's going to have 2 of the characters from like the same security company. So like it kind of continues the story of, I think there's a mole in the security company is the premise of it. So you're kind of like continuing the story, seeing the first characters in the first book kind of in the background, but you're mostly focusing on the new possible couple.
I love it.
I love that book. And I was very surprised. It was one of those ones I read this year that I was like, give it a try. Click it, read it, and you're like, oh my God, this is good. Like, how can I not heard of this person before? And I think it was her first book. It came out in June. And then this next one comes out end of August, I believe, the end of August. So the whole series comes out within 3 months. I love it.
I love it. I love when that happens. I love that romance actually can deliver romance like within a timely fashion that we don't have to wait a year for things.
Yes, no waiting. Please write all of them at once and then publish a couple months apart.
Yes, that's the best thing. I'm like, I can binge read on this. And I don't need to remember. And most of them are standalone, so you don't need to remember what happens, but it's really great too. So, but I love it. I love that about romance.
Oh, yeah. So I'm really excited about that. Oh, and Bone Houses. I have the Bone Houses.
Oh, yes,
I need to read, which looks really creepy. And something about cemeteries, and it's like kind of like YA, I guess, fantasy, YA thriller. But it looked like it had a little bit of magical something going on the island where bodies could, like, it's like a curse, bodies could rise and something happens. And, people have to go on a little adventure to figure out what's going on. So I'm really excited about that one too. So I have all sorts of stuff to read this month.
I love it. So
what are you looking forward to reading this month on your TBR?
So it's all historical.
All historical.
All historical. So the Wallflower Wager is next after the Bridgertons I'm done. And then I'm going to start with Castles of Aractor, Romancing the Duke, and then the other 2 books in the series. So it's just basically I'm going to go on Tessa Dare, and then I may do Lisa Kleypas next. So I don't have to read for the podcast, which is amazing. So now I actually can read anything that I want. And so right now I'm focused on historicals. I have quite a few. So I got approved for like 10 arcs on Edelweiss. It was like randomly, like literally, I think someone at Avon was like, we're going to approve for all her arcs because they were all from Avon HarperCollins. And they were all got approved within like the same day. And I was like, what is going on? So we met in December, which looks like, it seems like one day in December that came out last year. The premise looks like the same. So I'm kind of curious to see if I like it. I got approved both in Edelweiss and at Galley. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to read it. I have 25 days till December, which is a Christmas book. I got a few Christmas books to read. I got the Jill Chavez Christmas book. I think it's Robin to You. So I have that book to read. And then I got, I'm trying to think what other book, something else something holiday related. So there's quite a few holiday books. So I think after I'm done with historicals, and I'm just going to go for Christmas books and then just maybe try to read a through or 2 in October.
I have several Christmas stuff as well. I still have I have 10 Blind Dates, which I'm really excited about because it was going to be that. You have that one too?
Yep,
because it's going to be a Netflix series. So I'm all over anything that's going to be on Netflix.
Yes, I have
to read that one together.
Yeah, I got that in BEA. It was a Disney book, which I'm surprised it's going to be a Netflix series because it came from Disney.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being in the show.
Well, thank you for having me again. It was a lot of fun. I really like talking books and audiobooks and whatever.
I know. I love talking books with you. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We'll be back next week with a brand new bookish recommendation show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving a review on iTunes. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.